Hello and welcome to Geoscope with me, Graham Hughes, and also we've got Ollie Bowler Hat Man. How you doing, Ollie? You all right? Oh shit! Hang on, my sound's gone. Where's your sound gone, Ollie? Oh, that's better. Hello, come back.
Oh, I'm back.
Yeah, sorry, you went off for a moment. I don't know. It might be doing that weird Google Meet thing. So you're a bit late. That's my fault. I was trying to get you on Zoom, and Zoom just wouldn't connect. It go to zoom.com, but zoom.us wasn't there. And when I tried to start a new video, start a new chat or whatever, it just freaked out at me. So sorry about being so late. If it's all right with you, Ollie, we'll go on a few minutes at the end about whatever we need to talk about. So Purity, to make up for it, Purity Vendetta is in the chat. So is Martin Harrow. So is Scott. So is Billy Kershaw and One Angry Pagan. And Diz as well. There's a guy called Bowler Hatman who says soon. And also we've got Sarah Davis in there as well, and Amy Walker and Kate Smith and Dave Great. Listen, if you would like to join our friends in the chat, that all you need to do is press that subscribe button and wait for a minute and you'll be admitted in. But don't be a troll or we will mute you and boot you, and you'll be able to watch but you won't be able to comment. So, Ollie, lots going on in the world. Should we talk a little bit about Trump's tariffs? Although we've slightly done that topic to death, but just quickly at the beginning, should we mention what our latest updates are? The Fed's had words. The Fed's not happy,
this is going to be one of those things that really continues for the next couple of weeks. So, strap yourselves in and, get ready for some, deep economic talk.
Yeah.
On this, but one of the things that is still developing, of course, is you remember when we were talking, to my uncle said that the nuclear option is we hold a lot of debt. Like the top 3 countries that hold a lot of US debt is Japan, China, and then it's us.
Yes. Japan's got over $1 trillion of American debt. That is mad, isn't it?
So one of the big reasons why, or at least one of the big, again, conspiracy theories that is floating around why Trump backed down, because the 10-year bond yields increased, was because someone was selling off bonds. Now, the rumor is going around that it was Japan. However, Japan has said that it wasn't them. But someone was, whether it was actual countries doing this, getting together, selling this off, because Japan, the UK, Canada, and I think Germany, all selling just like a small amount of their bonds that they hold is equivalent to like a lot of money, shall we say. And if that were to happen, that would result in very, very bad things for the Fed. And that would mean that Donald Trump's currently scrambling to slash as much money as he can for all of these insane tax cuts that he's going for.
He wants the tax cuts, doesn't he? He's mad for the tax cuts. So in Trump's first term of office, he put in these insane tax cuts where he saved these big mega corporation billions of dollars, and they gave that old shit about we're going to reinvest it. We're going to reinvest. Like fuck they were. Do you know what they did with it? They spent it all on crack and prostitutes and buybacks of their stocks and big fuck off yachts and more crack, more prostitutes, because that's what rich people spend their money on: crack, caviar, prostitutes, and yachts. And they were having a party, they were having an orgy every night, they were having loads of sex, they were having loads of drugs. They're not giving a fuck. They're using all this money that should have been used for schools, hospitals, infrastructure improvements in America, and they were snorting it all up their butt cracks, right? And Trump was like, oh, no, they're going to reinvest it. And it turned out the amount that was actually reinvested was so negligible, it was ridiculous. Yep. And it costs they said, oh, it created like 70,000 jobs, but it ended up costing 700,000 jobs in the long run. They had to bail out 95% of the farmers in America because of those tariffs. And so all the money that they saved,
I know, put on the soybeans at the time.
Yeah, it was the biggest transfer of tax wealth, the biggest transfer of wealth, not tax, just wealth, from the working and middle classes to the super rich. And from the moment that his tariffs came in 2018, I think it was, to now, those billionaires, those trillionaire companies have doubled their profits. They have doubled their profits because they're just none of it's going back in investment. None of it's going to create jobs or anything like that. They just took all the money and then they spent it all at poker and drugs and prostitutes and whatever.
One of the scary things about this is
artwork.
At the end of this year,
happy birthday, Sarah!
Oh, happy birthday! Hey, woo! At the end of this year, the current guy who runs the Fed, his time in office is up.
Yes.
So that means Trump gets to appoint a new head of the Fed. Now, bear in mind, all the absolutely insane, crazy lunatics Trump has currently appointed.
Yeah.
He's totally going to appoint someone who is an absolute stable genius to this position, surely. No, he's going to appoint someone who is absolutely insane, probably doesn't know what they're doing, and is going to do incredible damage because Trump keeps on telling the Fed to lower interest rates.
Yeah.
The Fed's like, no, we're not lowering interest rates. Doing this now would be insane. It would be foolish to do. Like, we're not gonna do this. If Trump puts in some sycophant, of course he's going to lower interest rates, and that is going to have huge ramifications for the U.S. economy. Or if there is a recession, he's not going to raise interest rates. All this stuff.
Yeah.
All this stuff is really, really going to screw over the American economy. And here's the thing. Even let's say if the Democrats win the next election, that term in office, from what I believe, would not be up until like 2033. So the Democrats or whoever is in, the White House, if they've gotten rid of Trump and the Democrats are in, they're going to have to contend with the fact that there's still this crazy Trump appointee sitting in the Fed who might be doing God knows what.
Yeah.
Trying to ruin anything that they might do, trying to fix all the mess that Trump has made.
So he's gonna put Marjorie Taylor Greene in, isn't he? That's what he's
God,
gonna do.
I hope not.
That's what he's gonna do. I'm telling you now. We just got super chat in. Sarah Davis, £2 super chat. Thank you. That's very kind of you. Thank you for all the support. It's been a hard day. Thanks, Sarah. Really appreciate that, and I appreciate it. It's been a shit day for people in this country. It's been a shit day for trans women, trans men. It's been a shit day for women. It's been a shit day for allies. It's been a shit day for the whole of the LGBTQ IA plus community. It's been really shit. It's been really shit, and we're not talking about that today because this is all supposed to be about news from around the world. I would have really liked to have done a show with Rachel today, talking about what's happened, but as you can imagine, she's just absolutely devastated. She's absolutely devastated, and I think she's going to need a little time to, come back to this and talk about it. I might be able to do a show on Friday with someone else that's actually specifically on the topic of what the ruling from the Supreme Court in the UK was today. But yeah, we're definitely talking about it on this channel. And please don't feel like, that we're not helping because we're not talking about it in this particular show. But that's because this is all about world news. And I'm sure that Phil and I will talk about it on the agenda. But, two cisgender white blokes talking about a topic such as this feels a little bit insulting. So I'd rather get someone else on the show who's more of an expert in this field. So yeah, going back to our Trump tariffs. So the head of the Fed is going to have to say, well, the head of the Fed at the moment has just Jerome H. Powell, who's the chair of the Federal Reserve Board. He said basically we're in uncharted waters, and he has essentially said, things aren't looking good, which they're not. So he's being honest there. I'm looking at the current state of the stock exchange. The Dow Jones Industrial Average is down 1.73% today. We've got the S&P 500 is down another 2.24%. I mean, it's just carnage out there. It's just going down, 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 and down again. It's not looking good. SG, thank you very
NVIDIA
much.
this morning lost a ton of value off their stocks.
Who did? NVIDIA.
NVIDIA.
Yeah, because they can't get hold of the rare earth materials that they need, because 90% of world, well, I think it's more than that actually, more than 90% of rare earth minerals, materials, elements, they're processed in China. And Trump is trying to make it so that no one in America buys things from China anymore, which is quite insane. And they said,
I think he's trying to do that for the whole world for some reason.
Yeah, we're gonna stop buying semiconductors. Oh no, we're not. Okay, well, so we'll allow semiconductors. We'll allow laptops, phones. We'll allow them, but but in order to make them in America, in order to make chips in America, to make semiconductors, you need these rare earth metals, and China's like, no. SG, thank you very much for the super chat. Happy birthday to Sarah. Love to Rachel and everyone else. Oh, that's really sweet of you. Thank you so much, SG, for the £20. And David Peacock's thrown £2 in the super chat. I've said that if we get 10 super chats, Ollie, I'll shut up and let you speak.
Oh, okay.
Ollie's like, thank you. please, more super chats. So yeah, I mean the 145% tariff on China is still in place. And then you've got 10% on everything else coming in, but also there's 25%.
Not everything, because he has started handing out exemptions.
Yes, yeah. Well, it's
certain goods, left, right, and center.
It's still 25% on steel and aluminium, and it's 25% on what he calls non-compliant Mexico and Canadian goods. But yeah, tell us a little bit more about which industries are getting let off the hook. Because I mentioned Apple. Well, I didn't mention Apple, but I mentioned
so he's
and
laptops. Laptops, the big ones. That was probably the best one to talk about. But yeah, he said laptops. But as we've talked about before, because this came up a lot in Brexit, where do all the components for laptops come from?
Africa.
Yeah, and through China, through Taiwan,
through China,
through a lot of these other Asian countries. They might have a 10% tariff, so that means laptops in America, getting slapped with not just a 10% tariff. Depends where they're coming from. Because if you're an American company, you're building a laptop in America. All of a sudden, all those components to build a laptop just became a lot more expensive.
Yeah.
A lot more expensive.
Optimistic Nihilist just dropped a £10 super chat in. An unfortunate global trend in Western democracies is that we are becoming more socially conservative, i.e. anti-trans, and more economically Keynesian, e.g. more government intervention. Well, I don't particularly have a problem with more government intervention. I'd rather have that, but not in the way that Trump is doing it. Because Trump is intervening in private business and just messing it all up. And, it's leading to price hikes in America. The US dollar is down again. It's down 1.2% versus the euro and the pound. The US Treasuries yields spike yields have spiked as investors have fled this kind of safe debt amid what you can only call a confidence crisis. And it's because there's a confidence trickster in the White House. There's a con man in the White House, and he's just taking all the confidence from the investors. So, news to Trump, there's 192 other members of the UN for people to invest in, companies to invest in. Why would they invest in America where they're not going to know what the tariffs are going to be on their imports and exports from one day to the next?
Yeah. Oh, something else I wanted to talk about, because I wanted to mention this on Friday. Argentina
Yes,
in trouble,
Millie,
monumental
Javier,
trouble.
Javier Millie. What's up with
Yeah.
Argentina? Tell me.
So you may remember, of course, Millet is trying to dollarize his economy.
Mm.
Is going through all these, crazy things. He's, slashed, uh, gotten rid of completely government departments. He's had a huge sell-off of all like nationalized Argentinian assets. He's sold a load of lithium mining rights to like Elon Musk, a load of stuff. But during all this, remember, he's dollarized the Argentinian economy.
Yeah.
So that means he is prioritizing the dollar over the Argentinian peso.
Yeah.
Meaning that people have tried now in Argentina to turn their pesos into dollars, which has now led Argentina into a crisis where their country does not have enough dollar currency to pretty much do anything. So Milei had to go to the World Bank and get a loan from them to
Yeah.
have more dollars. He
Yes.
has loaned, what is it, 2.2? I think it's 2.2. Like, I'm gonna have to look this up because it is an insane amount of money that he's got.
He's yeah, he's got this from the IMF. He's basically Argentina's IMF deal.
Yeah, $20 billion.
Jesus, that's cash. So there's got to
Yeah,
be
cash, like
containers,
cold card
containers of
cash.
cash coming.
Yeah,
Wow.
and he is, like I say, he is reliant. He is massively reliant now on what happens to the dollar.
Yeah.
Especially because no one wants to buy stuff in his country. No one is using the peso or the Argentinian peso anymore. They're all trying to buy dollars. There's a massive black market in Argentina at the moment for dollars. So that's also not helping things. They've taken away a lot of the monetary rules around like buying and purchasing of dollars even more. So now that they've had this loan, I suspect maybe in a couple of months' time, Miller's going to be in an absolute shall we say up creek because
Wow.
it took him less than 9 months? Are we
To go cap in hand to the IMF.
I think so. Since he came in, 9 months, something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
That's how long it took them to burn through all of their reserve currency.
Yeah.
How long is that 20 billion going to last? And bear in mind, they've got to repay that as well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if the US goes into like recession or they get stagflation or any serious economic trouble, Milei and Argentina completely, absolutely screwed. Like, he has screwed the pooch of this.
Yeah.
Screwed the pooch so badly on this. It's going to be a huge problem for them to sort out.
So
Huge problem.
what they're going to be doing is they're getting 25 million altogether. They're getting some money from other multinational lenders, 2 billion from global banks, 5 billion and 5 billion from extending a currency swap with China. China's got too many dollars. China needs to get rid of its dollars.
Yep.
Whereas Argentina needs dollars now. And these liquid resources will be used to strengthen the central bank's balance sheet through the repurchase of non-transferable bond by the Ministry of Economy. So this is a guy who is an anarcho-capitalist who's saying, no, the markets should decide absolutely everything. And he's gone cap in hand to other people's governments, to other countries' governments and said, can you lend me some money so I can buy some government bonds? Wow. That is something, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah, the peso is still doing not great. It's trading between 1,000 and 1,400 pesos per dollar.
Mm.
Wow.
Yep.
That's up from like, I don't know, 10. Just like that since before 20.
Well,
And one of the reasons why Milei was elected was because of the absolute shitfest that had been left by the previous government, and people were really feeling it because they had allowed stuff to get really, really shit. It's like, the guy Bukaki, the leader of El Salvador, he was elected basically because he said, I'm going to stop this murder rate. El Salvador, when he came in, had the highest murder rate in the world. He's got it down to the lowest in Central America now. And
by locking everyone up.
Yeah, by killing everyone, by killing anyone, locking them up, killing them.
Mm.
And so the people love him. The people are like, oh, thank you. You've done the thing that you said you're going to do. And it's interesting, isn't it? Like, if you're going to be a dictator, if you're going to be one of these strongmen dictators, and you come in, you do something absolutely horrible in order to achieve the goal that you set for yourself, you've got to do it. And this is something that Trump isn't doing. Trump promised, money, 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 hubba, 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 who do you love, Joker?
No.
And he has failed. He's failed on every conceivable level. I mentioned Jerome H. Powell, the chair of the Fed, the Economic Club of Chicago. He warned you. You mentioned stagflation before. He was talking about stagflation, simultaneous weaker growth, higher employment, and faster inflation, the likes of which, he said, had not been seen since the 1970s. And the federal funds rate held at 5.25 to 5.5 after 7 hikes since the last spring. And the core CPI is roughly at 3% annually versus, that's the consumer price index. And that's the target's 2%, they're at 3%. So Trump's done all these mad things to try and get to this goal that he's got of making America great again. And he's fucking it up so badly and so quickly. It's almost impressive. It's almost as though he's been told what to do by Russia, and his number one job is to bankrupt America.
It's not being told to do this by Russia at all. It's just that he's just an absolute idiot. It's an absolute idiot. They're surrounded by other absolute idiots, and we went through this as well with Brexit.
Yep.
We saw it with Boris Johnson. All
incompetent
these
evil, evil,
obsessed with their free market fundamentalism. That if they follow this ideology, it'll all be rainbows and sunshine forever.
Yeah.
And of course, when things start going wrong, anything like that, it's not their ideology, it's not their policies, it's something else. Yeah. It's the Ramonas, it's the Wets in the party, it's the civil service blob. It was everything bar their ideas, bar their ideology, and this is exactly what's going to happen now. Because you had, I don't know if you saw the hedge fund people speaking out about Trump last week. So they were talking about all the stuff happening last week, last Wednesday, and they were like, "Yeah, nothing Trump is doing and saying makes any sense. We're worried that he's following this ideology. We don't know what ideology this is, but we know it doesn't work. So why is he following it?" And then some other hedge funds were just like, "No, we think he's just absolutely insane." And when a hedge fund is turning around and just saying, "Yeah, the leader of the free world is absolutely insane," yeah, I think that says it all, really, doesn't it?
He is a little bit. He is. It's just yeah, and also the Director General of the WTO, Ngozi Okonjo Iweala, I think I'm saying that right. She said that global goods are set to fall by 0.2%. That's around the world. And you know what, Joe, the thing that I find like the most disturbing and terrifying of all this shit that Trump's doing. Like one man can have such an effect on the world, on the
And it is
trade,
going to
on
have
the
an effect on
commerce.
all sorts of different countries, because you look at places like Turkey.
Mm,
You know, when we went into the pandemic, everyone was like, "Oh, inflation is going to be a big problem, so we're going to raise our interest rates to try and curb that inflation." Erdogan goes, "No, inflation not going to be a problem, not going to be a problem at all. I'm going to ignore all the economic experts. I'm going to be proven right by this."
yeah,
Um, Turkey ended up with 80% inflation, and they are still battling
yeah,
with very, very high inflation,
yeah,
desperately trying to sort of get it down. Um, every country is right now still fighting that post-COVID inflation, and it was
yeah,
on the downtrend.
yeah, yeah,
Now all these tariffs that Trump has done have come in. You're seeing a lot of countries now start to go, "We're worried about inflation. We're worried what might happen."
yeah.
You've got a meeting next month with the Bank of England, and they are thinking about bringing rates down. They're going to bring them down to, I think they're talking about bringing them down to 4%. If inflation goes up, those rates might either A, stay where they are, or they might bring them up.
Yeah,
It depends.
yeah,
So far, all of this stuff has been, we haven't yet felt the impact yet of the Trump tariffs, but sooner or later we're going to experience that hiccup. Just like when we were in the pandemic, everything was initially all right. Then we hit that's when the supply stuff came in. And then, of course, when they expected that and they started to see that, that's when things started to smooth out just a
yeah.
bit. So
But I mean,
we're still
the
going to see
warning
that.
bells are going off everywhere, aren't they? Like
Mm,
everyone's screaming about this.
yeah.
Just before we scream about it as well, just want to say a big thank you to Optimistic Nihilist there for the £10 super chat. It amazes me that many liberals, US liberals, are surprised at Trump's madness and totalitarian turns, despite them screaming about it at the election. Looks like the Democrats have completely lost the plot. Sadly, well, I don't know if they lost. I think Trump, as long the Republicans who were supporting him, they have lost the plot. But I see what you're saying. Like,
I mean,
it's not great, is
that's the
it?
thing that gets me, because you again go back to to Brexit and Boris Johnson, and we saw Boris Johnson 2019 wins this massive,
Mm,
massive victory, massive election victory. It's the Johnson election magic
yeah,
at play, and they were willing to follow him for so many things, and it took them a long time for
yeah,
them to finally turn on him.
yeah,
It wasn't until like the Chris Pincher scandal
yeah,
that was like the straw that finally broke the camel's
yeah. He got
back,
away with
and they went,
Partygate,
right,
and
well,
his
right,
client
you're out.
press, his mates in the client press said, "Oh, is that it?" That's what the Daily Mail said at the end of the Sue Gray report into all those parties he was having when we couldn't be with our loved ones. They said, "Is that it? Is that all he did? He just had 19 parties. What's the problem?" 'Cause that's what they were told to say
Yeah,
because they went to school
and
together.
it's just, when are they gonna, like, when are like the sensible Republicans gonna turn around and just go, okay, this is nonsense.
Never,
We can't keep letting
never,
him get away with this.
never,
And
never.
this comes on to the, obviously, I think the next thing to sort of segue into, which was the ruling we've had recently about, if you don't know, they deported someone to Ecuador. He's a US, pretty much US citizen. They've
El Salvador,
deported
not
him.
Ecuador.
Salvador, sorry,
They
yeah,
go to
Salvador.
Ecuador
Get
next.
get get the right door. Get
Yeah,
the
it's
right
El
door.
Salvador.
So yeah, they deport him over there. They've now said, Supreme Court has ruled in quite a stunning way, like 9-0, that you've got to bring him back.
Yeah,
And Trump has gone against that ruling.
yeah. And they said they're going
And
to bring
I,
in, uh, you know, what's it called? Contempt orders, like contempt of
mm,
court, if they don't sort it out by, I think they got next week. So I think it's something like April the 22nd. And then not Trump himself, because he's above the law, but all his little lackeys will be in contempt of the Supreme Court. But I was talking about this with Mikey Famine on Monday. What's going to happen? He's just going to. It's a federal crime. It's a federal court. He's just going to pardon them. He's going to tell the DOJ not to enforce anything.
Well, I always
think they're
keep
going to rue the day they said he was above the law.
Yeah, I always keep on coming back to this, that you're not looking at the German comparison, how Germany like fell into fascism. What is happening in America is how Japan fell into fascism. Because in the lead up to like post World War One and stuff like that, and extra credits history does an amazing series on this, but it's well worth a watch. I always bring that up as well. Go give them a watch on that. Very, very good series on it. But they were constantly like, these Japanese nationalists were like breaking laws, committing murders, using the excuse, "Oh, I did it for the good of the country, for the good of the nation." They were getting away with it because they were intimidating the judges. They were, all this stuff, all the things that were meant to like stop all this stuff and make sure this stuff didn't happen. It was the institutions that kept on failing and time again until all the Japanese nationalists took full control. So that seems to be the pattern that is being repeated in America. That you are now seeing these lurching constitutional crises about to really hit the fan, and it's what happens to the institutions, what happens to the people inside those institutions, how do they work, how do they operate, are the institutions strong enough to do it? And they've never had anything like this before happen really in America, not for a very, very long time.
Yeah.
So will these institutions hold up to it?
I don't think they will. I think they're going to have a complete overhaul once Trump is out the picture. We've also had just going back onto the situation in the economic situation. The Secretary General of the UNCTAD, which is the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development, Secretary General Rebecca Grinspan has said global GDP growth will slow to 2.3% in 2025, and that's below the 2.5% recession threshold. So we could be seeing a worldwide recession caused by Trump, caused by one fat, disgusting, racist rapist. Services trade, WTO now predicts services exports and imports are going to rise by 4% in 2025, which is down 1% from what they were expecting. And it's going to be a slump, it's going to be a slump. And the other thing I wanted to have a quick chat about is that brand America is completely... I've written under siege, but I think it's actually under fucking water at the moment. Government advisories in Canada, the US, the EU, warning of increased US border detentions. Foreign arrivals to US airports are down 20% year on year as of late March.
Yeah, no one's going. Oh, that was the other thing. Did you hear about the EU's move on this? That if you are an EU official and you're going on an official visit to America, they're now advising you to take burner phones, laptops, because they're now worried that the US is going to be spying on them. That's great news. That's great news for international relations between Europe and America.
Did you hear about the whistleblower who was saying what happened when Doge came along into when Doge went into the government's databases and had looked at everyone's social security numbers and all the tax stuff and everything else? Within 15 minutes, all that information had been downloaded from different hubs in Russia. They've
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me.
opened it up, and these Russian hackers are just taken all that information about probably every single private
Yeah.
citizen in America.
What did I say when this was all going to happen? What did I say? I guaranteed you it was going to result in like one of the biggest data security breaches in American history, and,
Yep.
yeah, that's a pretty significant data breach.
Yeah, yeah. China's been having fun this week. So first of all, they've halted Boeing aircraft deliveries,
Yep.
and this made Airbus's share price jump. Thanks. But the other thing they've done, have you seen the TikTok videos? The China TikTok videos?
Yeah, China. China is loving this. They are loving these memes.
So,
They are leaning hard into some of this stuff.
so what they've been doing is they've been the 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 Chinese government seems to have made it legal to break your NDAs if you're dealing with American companies. And what that has resulted in is these sort of, these luxury goods companies like Louis Vuitton and who makes those bags? Herpes bags, right? So they show the process of making these bags, and it costs about like $1,200, raw materials and the cost of paying the person to make it, to make these bags, which then sell for like $35,000 in America. These top end luxury bags, and they're saying buy from us, just buy direct from us. It's the same thing. We'll sell it to you for $2,000. And Americans are like, even with the 145% tariff,
Yeah.
it's a lot less than you'll pay in the shop. And
No,
China's
again,
like,
I keep on saying it. It's the fight we are witnessing right now is a fight between the American consumer versus the Chinese supplier.
yeah,
And
yeah.
I think at the moment this is a fight that the Chinese supplier is gonna win hands down.
But also, there's the consumer boycotts that are going on in
Yep.
Europe, not just against Tesla, but all American products like Denmark and Canada as well.
Oh, had a friend in Canada this week, just come
Yeah.
back from Canada. Been to Canada before all this, and we asked him when he come back, said, "Oh, how was Canada?" And he just went, "It's a bit nationalistic."
Do you
So
think?
he was saying about the fact that normally, like last time he was there, maybe you would see like, one Canadian flag on like a government building or something like that.
Yeah.
No, they're everywhere. They are
Good.
everywhere.
Fuck 'em.
Everyone's hanging one from
Yeah.
their windows, out in the front gardens.
Yeah.
You name it, it's everywhere.
Yeah.
You walk into a supermarket, big sign saying "Buy Canadian,"
Yeah.
and then the stickers, US stickers on all like the American products.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, in the chat, Jane is saying, "God, my phone, they would lock me up, proper anti-Trump." Well, the thing is, I can't go because even if I took a burner phone and had a blank laptop, they can Google me. I'm fucked. I can't go to America now until this lunatic's out of power. I can't even change planes in America, even though I've got an American visa now. It's really shit and very frustrating. Kieran, thank you so much for the super chat, mate. That's really kind of you. Watching 30 minutes behind on catch up, have a super chat. Thank me later. Well, I'm thanking you now, Kieran. So once you get to this part of the show,
See you when you catch up.
that's what I do on there. Like, when I'm behind, I just jump in and watch it on double speed. I like watching something. Put the subtitles on and watch things on double speed because like double speed you sometimes miss a little bit, but if you've got the subtitles on, you're laughing. David says, I never thought I'd support China over the USA, but here we are. Well, I'll ask you watching this. Is anyone in the chat like got a trip coming up to America? Have you cancelled a trip to America? Would you go there now? I mean, I fucking wouldn't. Even if I had a good chance of getting there, like, and not getting locked up, which I don't. But I'm really concerned about the amount of plane crashes and near misses and all this kind of shit that's going on in America at the moment because they're fucking around with the air traffic control and
Yeah, because there was that helicopter crash recently, wasn't there?
Yeah, and they want to get rid of all the regulation that and the training for people. Harvard, we haven't mentioned Harvard's told Trump to
Harvard,
fuck off. And he's threatening to withhold $2 billion in funding for Harvard. And you know what? You can make jokes about it all going to these wealthy kids, whatever. But the reality is, Harvard does a lot of research, and a lot of the big, technical breakthroughs that we've had in the last few decades have come from places like Harvard, Yale, MIT, and
And to be
Trump.
honest, it takes institutions like that to stand up and say, no, we're not going to do it.
Yeah. Sarah says, Graham, I can never go to America either. Being trans, I'll probably disappear the moment I got off the plane. Yeah, Sarah, do not go. The thing is, would you want to? Would you want to at the moment? Like, imagine if you knew you were going to be all right. You had some kind of diplomatic escort or something. Would you? I don't want to go there. I don't want to go there while this nutter's in charge and they're going around kidnapping people off the streets and throwing them in gulags or concentration camps in El Salvador. Don't forget, Auschwitz wasn't it? Actually, shit, it's the 80th anniversary, isn't it, of the liberation of the first concentration camp today. It's April the 16th, isn't it?
Is it? Oh,
Yeah,
I didn't know
it's
that.
the 80th anniversary of the liberation of the first, well, the first one that was liberated, I think. But Auschwitz was in Poland. That they outsourced their concentration camps. They weren't, obviously they had some in Germany, but Alistair, oh, thank you so much, Alistair. That's really kind of you. Alistair has gifted 5 Politics Social memberships to Nature's Admirer, Greg, Jack Lyons. We've got Lewis Minion in there and Steve P. have all been gifted memberships. So, Alistair, very, very kind of you, Alistair. Thank you so much for that. And Sarah says, in response to my question about going to America, no, definitely no. Yeah, I can imagine. So, just to go back to the sort of the rule of law rundown, like the deportation flights and the contempt of court. So, James E. Boasberg, who's the U.S. District Court in D.C., he threatened contempt for ignoring his 14-day stay on mass deportation under the 1798 Alien Enemies Act. And the White House response to this is President Trump remains committed to removing criminal aliens. And they're going to face contempt charges, but whether they're going to stick, who knows? And it's been 2 weeks, 3 weeks now since the Signal chat debacle. No one's even mentioning it now.
Yeah, apparently there were more.
Yeah,
as I thought there were. There were more, but they haven't been leaked.
Of course. Unbelievable. Actually, it's not unbelievable, is it? No. And then we've got some stories from around the world. Obviously, in the UK, the Supreme Court ruled women meant biological sex in law, which is the shittest outcome that could possibly have come from that, because all the gender critics are all over the fucking moon. Their celebrations are sickening me to my core. It's just horrible. It's just a horrible situation that we're in now. And we need legislation specifically to protect trans people against the ongoing shit. Like, there was someone on Threads or Blue Sky, and they were collating all of the anti-trans stories in the Telegraph in 1 year, just in one newspaper, Ollie, and they found 1,000 stories in 1 year. That's like 3 a day, all through the year. Anti-trans stories, and this is, it's the world we're living in the moment. Alistair, thank you very much for the £1 super chat, mate. That's really kind of you. And Paul Ewan, thank you very much. Overthrow of dictators often starts in universities. It certainly does. We need 2 more super chats to hit the goal of me shutting up and letting Ollie talk. So quick. We got 4 minutes left. In Africa, Joshua Sullivan was freed after a quite dramatic South African church abduction and gun battle. Meanwhile, in Sudan, they're facing the world's largest humanitarian crisis. Talks in London. There was a conference in London that they've stalled. And France has expelled 12 Algerian diplomats over a kidnapping row, which is, quite interesting. Vladimir Zelensky has said that he's not prepared to give up any territory, which is fair enough. And did you hear about him just basically blowing Trump up the other day by saying, I just want to buy 50 billion weapons. 50 billion. There you go. And Trump said no.
Yeah.
Because when you buy weapons from America or any country, to be honest with you, they have a list of countries that they don't sell to, right? But say you are Sudan and you want to get some weapons to go and kill some civilians in Darfur or something, and you're on this list. America says, we're not selling weapons to you. What's to stop you going to the Central African Republic, that might not be on the list, and saying, hey, you buy the weapons and then sell them to us at a 10% markup, and then we still get the weapons and you get 10%. So in order to stop that from happening, the US government essentially gets a veto on what arms go where anywhere in the world. And they've said no. He wasn't asking for a free handout. He wasn't asking for taxpayers' money. He wasn't asking for overseas aid. He wasn't asking for military aid. He was saying, I have $50 million. I would like to buy some arms and ammunition and shit so I can fight. We can defend our country. And Trump blocked it. Do you think he's working for the Russians?
No, I just think he's an idiot. I think he thinks this is how he stops a war.
I think he's working for the Russians.
I just think he's an idiot completely. I just think he's an absolute fool when he comes down to this.
Well, we've hit our target, so I'm going to have to let you speak in a moment. But first of all, can I just say thank you to everyone? Alistair, £2 super chat. Exactly, Graham. I was angry seeing them celebrating. It made me sick. It made me absolutely sick to my stomach seeing those smug little TERFs, which stands for trans-exclusionary radical fascists. It's really, really grim days. We need to push our MPs to bring in new legislation to protect trans people from these disgusting transphobes. David Faulkner, thank you very much for the 78 Hong Kong dollars. Trump thinks he's playing cards, but in fact he's trying to win the Chinese checkers and has already lost his marbles. We in China stand ready to work more closely with the EU. Thank you very much for that from David in Hong Kong. We got SG just saying, Ollie, Ollie, Ollie. Ugh. And then we've got Optimistic Nihilist there. Thank you very much, Optimistic Nihilist. I fear Trump is only the beginning of a new normal globally for the coming decades. Far-right demagogues getting elected and the world becoming a dog-eat-dog world of corporate autocracy and barbarism. Optimistic Nihilist, that's not too optimistic, but I can get where you're coming from there, but I don't see that. What I'm seeing at the moment is the revulsion around the world at what Trump is doing. And you're seeing it most clearly in Canada, where the Conservatives, they were going to win. They were going to walk this election. This time, like just 6 months ago, the Liberals didn't stand a chance. Now the Liberals are going to walk it. And that's because of Trump. The AfD didn't do as well in Germany as they thought they were going to do. And that was because of Trump. And it's the same mechanism that made Maloney and Le Pen and the dickhead in fucking Hungary, Orban. It made them all say, oh no, we don't actually want to leave the EU after Brexit, because they saw the shit fest it was in the UK and they went, yeah, not doing that. Anyway, so we got Ollie. I've got to let you talk.
Okay. This is where I'm like, what can I talk about?
Emmanuel Macron vows jail for prison riot ringleaders. I love that headline because they're already in jail. Gonna put you in jail, you people in jail. Okay. The EU court is considering
actually, I'll tell you what,
pride ban.
EU defense funding.
Yes.
Because I'll tell you what, Rheinmetall shares in Rheinmetall have just gone through the roof for the past couple of weeks.
That's the German company, isn't it?
Yep. Partly because it is one of the biggest sort of weapon manufacturers sort of in Europe. And of course, I think that should be the obvious reason why, because now really Europe is like, well, we really need to go into this strategic autonomy. They are still very worried about the fact that Trump might just completely abandon Ukraine. and that Europe is going to have to very, very much at that point pick up all the slack, even though it pretty much is providing a heck of a lot more support than America is. Something that a lot of people don't really realize. I think it's the Netherlands is paying all the wages for like Ukraine's civil service, so that their civil service can keep being funded.
Yeah.
So it's stuff like that that Europe is doing, as well as providing, arms, whereas the US is just solely providing arms.
Yeah.
So Europe has done a heck of a lot more when it comes to support, not just for weapon support, but also non, weapon support as well. As we said, Netherlands is pretty much funding to pay for their their civil service. So that is something that we should see. That is something that I think is very good, and I think it's something that, if it happens, I think Europe is going to have to go, well, we need a plan now that the US is gone, and I think at that point that is where Europe is going to have to really get together and go, right, how do we end this war?
Yeah.
Because I think that is what is, I think, needed more than anything from Europe, more than anything that at the moment. If the US pulls out, Europe has to come together and just go, right, how can we end this war?
Yeah.
And one of the ways they know is, well, we need to massively up weapon production, and you're seeing that happen with a lot of European countries right now, putting a lot into defense, piling on the pressure on that. We're seeing the EU pull together a defense budget potentially as well for countries to have a look at investing, creating new weapons companies, etc. So that is something that, again, will definitely boost Europe in that regard. So it's, unfortunately, we are again another wait and see moment. We've just had news that there are more talks because Trump's ambassador has just been to the Kremlin, but given the fact that Russia is still bombing, should we say, using drones to strike, Ukraine, it's pretty obvious that those talks have not really been successful, because the Russians still think that Trump is going to hand them Ukraine on a silver platter. Not just these 4 territories; they're going to hand Ukraine completely over to them.
Someone asked, Hayton Puds asked about homosexuality in China, and it's been legal there since 1997. Might have been one of the provisos of handing Hong Kong back. I don't know. They've got an equal age of consent over there for homosexual relationships and heterosexual relationships. It's only 14. It's quite low. But there's no laws really protecting gay people. You can't get married there. You can't adopt children as a gay couple. And in the last few years, there's been a real regressive movement in the government of China, clamping down on, even like, the representation of same-sex couples on the TV and the media and films and stuff like that. And also like effeminate men. They're saying that there's apparently there is a legal right to change gender in China, but it's a bit of a process. But I guess it's a bit of a process in every country. But yeah, it's not somewhere I don't think you'd get arrested for having gay sex, but you can't get married at the moment. I don't think they have civil partnerships or anything like that. As far as I'm aware, listen, if someone in China wants to correct me on that, someone who's in jail for being gay, let me know. So also, what else has happened? Tulip Sadiq, the Labour MP of Bangladeshi descent, she's got an arrest warrant out on her. Another MP, Vera Hobhouse, tried to go to America and was shown the door. 2 Labour MPs tried to go to Israel and were shown the door and were not allowed in. This is kind of crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's not. it's not unusual, of course, for this type of thing to happen.
So it was Hong Kong, not
Uh,
the US. Sorry, Vera Hopcutt.
yeah,
Sorry,
it's
Vera
not
Hobhouse.
unusual for this stuff to
It
happen,
was Hong
but
Kong. She
it
was
does happen from
turned
time to
away.
time. But it's the fact that obviously you've got two happening very, very close together. Obviously, um, Israel right now, obviously very, very topical for obvious reasons. Hong Kong, not so much, because a lot of people still really, I think, unaware of like the pressure. I think the central Chinese government is putting on Hong Kong really to sort of
Yeah,
bring it in line with the rest of China at the moment. I mean, if you live in Manchester, there is a massive expat community from Hong Kong,
yeah,
massive.
yeah.
They've all come over in like the past couple of years because of that.
Alistair is saying that they're not protected. China clamped down big time on it in the last 2 years. Graham, there were arrests. China show did a video on it. Oh wow. So yeah, that's what I mean. It's become more. I don't think it's technically illegal to have gay sex, but obviously if they're clamping down on gay lifestyles, there's nothing really to stop them over there. It is an authoritarian regime. Chris says all because certain people don't like seeing other people who look like them conforming to normal behaviors. They kick up a stink. Yeah. Is that down partly to the demographic crisis that China is facing? Asked David. I don't think so. I just think it's just regular common or garden prejudice against
Yeah,
gay people. Svax is saying, I remember Hollywood movies centering LGBT to show movies in China. Yeah, that's absolutely a step in the wrong direction. Because when you watch a movie, you want to watch people who are just like you. And if there's no representation of minorities, then those minorities, why would they go and see the film? You know, I think that films should always have characters in from all walks of life, and to not include characters like what happened in Inside Out 2. They actually changed the script to Inside Out 2 because the if you've seen it, she's playing hockey and there's a slightly older girl who she kind of like idolizes. And in the original script, she was like proper in love with her, and it was going to be a lesbian subplot to the film, which they had to get rid of because it was seen as being too woke or something to have a tomboy called Riley possibly have gay feelings for another woman or another girl. And it's really sad. It's really, really sad. And that's why I think stuff like Heartstopper and Sex Education was so important, so good that they're actually making these shows and allowing that community to be seen and to see themselves. Did you watch It's a Sin? Came out a couple of years ago. Russell T Davis. It was about the AIDS epidemic in the 1980s. It followed the lives of this group of friends throughout the 80s, and it was absolutely heartbreaking. It was if you didn't cry at at the end when his mate meets the mum at the on the waterfront, there's nothing down for you. You've got no soul. But yeah, more representation, please. And I love how much it upsets the gammon. I like that. That makes me happy. Every single person complaining about Doctor Who. That just
adolescence. That's
yeah.
been the latest one.
That just adds to my power. Yeah,
There's already some
adolescence.
people. There's already some people complaining about the new Fantastic Four film from Marvel. It's not even out. There've been no leaks about it at all. But apparently, it's terrible. But
Oh, is it?
that's the next
Well,
thing we're trying to build up.
going off the last four Fantastic Four films, that's the
Well,
Trask
yeah,
film, the two, and the what Silver Surfer, and
and
the '90s
Fantastic.
one that they made to keep the license for the characters. Yeah, absolutely abominable. So yeah, just going off past records, it might be shit.
Yeah.
But I'm willing to give it a go. I'm willing to
No,
give it a go.
I do hope it's good. I really do hope it's good. Because Fantastic Four should be a really good, idea. A superhero, sort of, family,
Yeah.
fighting crime against Doctor Doom, probably one of the most iconic villains of all time when it comes to comic book villains. But yeah. Anyway, I'm going to get massively off topic now talking about
Yeah.
Fantastic Four.
No, it's fine. We're talking about Heartstopper and It's a Sin. Chris C says the young lad who plays one of the main characters in Heartstopper is bisexual and he's had vile abuse aimed at him. And yeah, and Alvone says, "Oh, the snowflakes on the right get so triggered by Doctor Who." Yeah, they do. Yeah, they do. And I'm all here for it. I love seeing them get triggered. I love them crying into their, what do they drink? Bitter. I love thinking of them being bitter into the bitter. That a children's television show about a 3,000-year-old time traveling alien. It can't be a woman, can't be a black man, can't be gay. It's like, really?
I always wanted it to be Idris Elba, because I remember those rumors it being like meant to be like Idris Elba.
What, the Doctor Who? I thought
yeah.
it was James Bond.
Oh no, was it? No, was it? Oh, am I getting confused? Maybe it was Doctor Who. Maybe it was 007.
But 007 is quite clearly a Time Lord. Have you heard my 007 Time Lord theory?
No.
Well, he's the same character. He never really ages. He just gets played by different actors with the same face. And everyone still knows him as James Bond, even though he's clearly a different person.
Mm.
Both of them British. Both of them sort of cancelled in 1989. And we had to wait a few years for the next movie to come out. GoldenEye, the one with Paul McGann, Doctor Who.
Yep.
There's loads of similarities between Doctor Who and James Bond. I genuinely think that James Bond is actually a Time Lord. That's my theory, and I'm sticking to it. The irony is that the right moan about cancel culture want to cancel Doctor Who. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. They've always wanted to do that. When I grew up with Mary Whitehouse being on the TV every other day, whinging about all the sex and violence on TV and all the rude words that people were fucking well using, and it was just mad. Like she complained about cartoons, the old Looney Tunes cartoons with Roadrunner and Wile E. Coyote and Porky Pig, and
it's always been
Dog,
the same thing though. It's nothing new. You can go back and
Jerry.
You can find like back in like like the late 19th century when you had like men and women's salons where they would go and hang out. And you had like people complaining about, oh my god, there's this new story called The Bell and the Beast, and it's you can find all this stuff. You can even go further back. There'd like people people complaining about Shakespeare, that his plays would like too rude at time.
Too woke, mate.
You had
Christians had a huge problem with Romeo and Juliet, because of the suicide at the end. They believed, so spoilers for a 500-year-old play, they believed that if you killed yourself, you'll go to hell. That was a one-way ticket to hell, and suicide was illegal until quite recently. Suicide was illegal. Like if you tried to kill yourself and you failed, you could be arrested for trying to kill yourself. Strange system that we had, but there you go. The Fantastic Four, that wasn't released. It was actually pretty fun when I found it on YouTube.
The Roger Corman one, yeah.
The next episode of Doctor Who looks incredible, by the way. It's half cartoon. Ooh, that sounds good. We're all showing our age with Kez. Still scares me with the PE. So true to life. Film Kez. Kestrel for a Knave, whatever it's called. The book.
Couple of Kez statues where I'm from.
All right, yeah, it would be because it was Yorkshire, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Was Yorkshire.
Well, not just Yorkshire. It was my hometown where it was all filmed in.
A lot of people seem to think that Billy Elliot is Yorkshire, but it's not. It's here. It's Durham, County Durham. It was County Durham. But anyway, okay. So I think we've just gone over an hour.
Yeah.
So have we got anything else? What else has been happening? Black Sea navigation, energy ceasefire.
We're still waiting for news from South Korea on there, because obviously they've impeached their president. So that is going to be very interesting.
Yes.
What happens on that trial?
Yeah.
That could get, I think, pretty interesting. Like who else was involved? Who else knew about it? So yeah, that trial could get pretty spicy. So I'm keeping my eye on what goes on there in South Korea when this trial really kicks off. I think in a couple of weeks' time, when it will start going down, and then that'll be interesting.
One of the other stories that I got flagged up here. Okay, I'm going to give you a guess. You're going to get to guess. So in Adelaide, Australia, how much do you reckon in Aussie dollars? And there's about 2 Aussie dollars to £1. How much do you reckon the medium house price is in Adelaide now?
Um, 300,000.
1 million.
Oof.
Median house price in Adelaide is now 1 million Aussie dollars. Wowzers, trousers. So yeah, that's insane, isn't it? Anyway, what else has been going on? Hong Kong has halted US-bound mail over bullying tariffs, and Nvidia, which you mentioned earlier, they've warned of a $5.5 billion hit from AI chip export controls. This is so Nvidia have been hit from all directions, and obviously they're a rival to Musk for certain things, so you can understand why they might be, facing these problems. But America has restricted the number of chips that Nvidia can sell. So Nvidia started as a video card making company, in the American company, and they started in the early 90s making these video cards. I remember having an old massive Nvidia card, it was about this wide, for my 386 PC. Oh, the days. You don't know what that means, do you? 386. No. There's a 286, and then there was a 386, and there was a 486, and then it was a Pentium because it was a 586. But when you see like X86, that means it's the 86 series of processors. Anyway, getting off topic here. Nvidia make these top-end graphics cards, which are fantastic for playing games, right? But they're also really good for AI, for getting these processors done that are necessary, these calculations to get AI to work properly on a large language model. And so America, and this wasn't Trump who did this was done before Trump took over, but America has made a point of choking the number of chips that Nvidia is allowed to sell to China, because they're scared that China's going to win the AI war by using these chips, these expensive chips.
I know they sort of did that with the DeepSeek.
But then they did it with DeepSeek by literally typing into ChatGPT, "Can you tell me how you work, please?" And ChatGPT said, I will be very helpful. I will tell you how I work." And they went, "Thanks." How can I make this more efficient so it doesn't use so much processing? So yeah, I mean, seriously, loads of shit going on, and loads of it connected one way or another with one person, Donald Trump, screwing things up for people all over the world. It's kind of crazy, isn't it? What a time to be alive. This just says Canadian flag. That's all you need to say, Diz. I like that. And isn't that the point of trade, though? Yeah. America has always been protectionist, but now it's been even more. And Canadian Ollerman there, elbows up. Canada. I think we'll leave it at that. Thanks so much, Ollie, for coming on tonight. Was there any stories that we missed? Was there anything that you wanted to mention? But
not I can think of. Like I said, the one about Argentina, obviously, about Millet.
Yeah.
That'll be interesting how that unfolds.
It will be interesting. Okay. Well, we'll leave it at that then. Thanks a lot, Ollie. If you are watching...
We've got to at some point, because you've said you've got a friend in Argentina. We've got to try and bring them on sometime.
I've spoken to her for like 15 years. It'd be so random. She might not know anything about it. She might just be like, whatever. I'll try and raise her on. I think my connection with her was through MySpace. That's how long ago it was, mate. I don't even know if I'm friends with her on Facebook anymore.
I would love to find someone from like one of us from like Argentina who talks about Argentinian politics on YouTube. I would love to find them.
So the guy who was my cameraman for the first 2 days of the Odyssey expedition through Argentina, he might be a good person to get hold of if we can get hold of him.
Yeah, I would love to bring someone, because it's one of those things where we hear about certain stuff, but if you are from there, you probably know about like even more stuff that's going on that doesn't get reported to, like, you know, us. It would
Yeah,
be
yeah.
great to find someone from Argentina to come and talk about just what's going on.
Let's do it.
over there
Let's
at the
do it.
moment.
Anyone from Argentina, let us know. Okay, give us a like on the way out. We always like a like. It's the least you can do if you've enjoyed the show. Also, if you want to do a little bit more, consider joining the channel. Not everyone can join, but if you can, you get a little rose after your name, and that'll be groovy. Okay, so that's it for tonight, and thanks for watching. Thanks for the chat. Thanks for the super chats, especially. And I'll be back at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning for Morning Brew. And until then, I'll say thank you so much for watching. Hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye.
Bye.